You know the morning, your alarm doesn't go off, you're already running late, and right as you sit down to tackle an overflowing inbox, you spill your coffee all over your shirt. The modern cultural instinct is to brush it off immediately. We tell ourselves to smile through it and keep the good vibes only, trying to force a cheerful outlook onto a messy situation. But that forced performance often fails to improve the situation. Instead, it adds a layer of guilt for feeling upset in the first place, leaving you emotionally exhausted before your second cup of coffee. Psychologists identify this as toxic positivity. When you suppress real negative emotions to fake a good mood, you don't fix the problem. You trap your brain in a downward psychological spiral that feeds the exact stress you're trying to avoid. We fall into this trap because of a flawed assumption that experiencing a bad feeling means we're failing, or that being stressed reveals a permanent flaw in our character. We can shift our perspective toward building a robust emotional immune system, a way to process adversity efficiently rather than expecting it to disappear entirely. Genuine mental resilience requires us to acknowledge and validate our stress as a natural human occurrence. A resilient mind handles stress by looking at it clearly, not by denying its existence. To understand why this works, we have to look at how our emotions are built. Evolutionary biology shows that negative emotions act as our brain's ancient fast system, engineered to deal with immediate, urgent threats. When the fast system activates, your view shrinks into a red tunnel, locking on to the threat. But Fredrickson's broaden and build theory identifies a slow system. When safe, your brain shifts to branching blue paths, broadening awareness. Positive emotions generate small nodes of skills across your neural network. Viewing joy and contentment through an evolutionary lens reveals their true function. They are biological tools designed to build the enduring survival resources you'll need for the future. The psychological experience of genuine optimism maps directly to physical brain chemistry. When you engage that slow system, your brain produces localized increases in serotonin and dopamine. That chemical release promotes neurogenesis. In this microscopic view, watch how these glowing neurons physically stretch out to form brand new, branching neural pathways. By adopting a growth mindset, where you view a ruined shirt as a temporary morning glitch rather than a permanent disaster, you actively lower the cortisol levels in your bloodstream. That combination of lowered cortisol and increased dopamine actively strengthens synaptic plasticity within the hippocampus, the brain's center for learning and memory. Practicing genuine optimism is a physiological rewiring of your brain's hardware. It creates physical resilience against the next wave of stress. Let's look at the math of emotional well-being. 50% of our happiness baseline is dictated by genetics, and 10% by circumstances. That leaves 40% determined by intentional activity. This pulsing slice represents our active zone of control. The most effective method to utilize this 40% is a technique called cognitive behavioral restructuring. It is a structured way to identify negative thoughts and replace them with rational alternatives. Using this cognitive restructuring is exactly how you abandon the trap of toxic positivity and safely transition your mind into genuine optimism. Applied to our messy morning, step 1 is to identify and validate the negative emotion. You admit you are frustrated about the coffee and the alarm, without judging yourself for feeling upset. Step 2 is to challenge the cognitive overgeneralization. You pause and ask yourself if the entire day is ruined, or if it was just a highly stressful first hour. Step 3 is to replace that catastrophic thought with a manageable perspective. You decide to use your commute to listen to a favorite podcast and mentally regroup before tackling the inbox. Looking at this person calmly reviewing a document, we see the reality of genuine optimism. It is the act of validating hard, messy realities while intentionally keeping the psychological door open for growth. This process acts as the slow, compounding interest of human motivation, eventually transforming a single bad morning into a more resilient psychological baseline.